One. All right, welcome back to part two, discussing the Royal Rumble event. Finished up with most of the matches in part one, but this one we are talking about the men's Rumble now. A lot going into this one, sir. Well, as I asked you with the women's one, going into this, who'd you think was going to win? Who were you rooting for to win?
I and many of the teachers that I surveyed to watch wrestling at my school thought that old Charles Montgomery Punk was going to win the whole dang thing. My number two pick was actually Gunther. And then number three, I think I said Cody Rhodes, right? I think, if it wasn't going to be Punk, Gunther was going to show up and match his performance from last year. And then when it came to special appearance, I used my ballot vote to say that our buddy Kazuchika Okada was going to surprise the world and shock the system and cause me to pass out.
Yeah, I had a similar discussion with Ricardo about that, like who was showing up. And we talked about the prospect of Okada, and I was just like, I'm in the boat of it just doesn't feel right for that man to be anywhere but New Japan.
Before we get into the Rumble, I listened to a podcast that watches NXT faithfully. Do you watch NXT at all?
No.
Are you familiar with Chase University?
Yeah, I saw the jokes about that.
So yeah, Andre Chase is lost a bunch of money gambling, and he's going to lose his school. And so what these guys are hoping for is, because there's rumors that Kazuchika Okada is going to go to NXT, and they said, wouldn't it be incredible if the school is bought and saved by Okada himself?
Oh man, that would be hilarious. Getting into my picks though, I pretty much followed your same route, sir, where this is, as I was telling you before we started recording, I came off as very anti-CM Punk to everyone, because going into this Rumble, I sounded like as if I hated CM Punk, because I was saying, Ricky was like, oh, who do you have winning? I'm like, dude, they're going with the story of CM Punk. He's going to go win. He's going to fight Rollins at Mania. He's going to win the title. And we're going to get Old Man Punk with a title again. Because it's so well. It worked out so well the past 2-3 times these past couple of years. And to my dad, I was coming off as very anti-CM Punk. But it wasn't that. I didn't think Punk winning the Rumble would be interesting. Winning the world title would be interesting. It's not like I don't think he's interesting in WWE right now or can have interesting matches and feuds. It is simply because there is someone younger, there is someone, this might be controversial, but better right behind him. And it's not the guy I'm wearing the shirt of right now. It is who you said your number two was, and that is Gunther. In a recent backstage segment, or it was a little clip for their social media, he was talking about, I guess they beat DIY on Raw, I think it was. And he dropped the line of saying, I'm not perfect, but I'm damn close to it.
Oh, yeah.
And that to me, it was just especially after Ricky showed me, because, I don't keep up with the week shows, but Ricky showed me he had, sort of a promo battle with Rollins. And I was just I am 100% sold. Because before going in, I was I doubt they give it to him. It was kind of the same thing how you were feeling with Liv, where it's well, Gunther was the runner-up last year, had a really strong performance, had people really looking forward to him, and he had a really great 2023. He was my champion of the year, and you have all this stuff with him, he's doing really great work. So, but a part of me was well, he's still IC champion. I doubt they give it to him. But after seeing that segment with Rollins, I was I'm putting the whole house on it. I want this to happen. And so I was very much rooting for Gunther throughout the Rumble, so much so that it came off as anti everybody else almost, in a sense, where I was just it has to be Gunther, especially because in the back of my mind, I was they're not going to give it to Cody back to back. They're going to do the route of, they're going to do the HBK route with The Undertaker, where they're going to make him work his way back to Roman through like the Elimination Chamber. Like he's gonna have a really dramatic elimination in the Rumble, and then he's gonna enter the Chamber to challenge Roman. Like to get the opportunity to challenge Roman, because I thought Punk was winning the Rumble, going on to challenge Rollins.
I second everything you said and described, sir. Even the Punk bashing, and I just had, I had a lack of faith that Triple H was going to be able to control himself, and I thought he's going to literally do the same thing he's done with the title that he created because of what he had done. The Workhorse Championship, Seth Rollins Championship, right? It's supposed to be the antithesis to Roman's, and what I pictured was then they're going to put it on Gunther, and he's going to be a double champ that nobody can beat, and great, now we got two of them. Great. I thought, yep, they don't see what they're doing, and it's going to happen again. That's why I picked Gunther, because I thought they're going to ruin this for me again.
Yeah, but I was very much rooting for him. I was like, it has to be him. He can drop the title on Raw, or he could drop it at Elimination. Or actually, I don't think he can travel, because if I remember correctly, I saw something where I don't remember how long ago it was, but he was trying to get I don't remember if it was citizenship or residency, but it was a thing where he had to stay 6 months and a day, which is like the majority of a year or of half a year in the States. Like he couldn't travel or nothing. He had to stay for like 6 months in the States to
I definitely have heard his inability to travel, but yeah, there it is. There's our pick, sir. We wait for number one. It's Jey Uso, main event Jey Uso. Everyone's bouncing, right?
I actually called this
out there. You did.
Yeah.
You did. You got that Marco ability to call moments. Who's number two? Who's going to meet Jey Uso in the ring?
Yeah, Ricky thought I was crazy, but at number 2, Jimmy Uso comes out, and I thought they were going to do this to drum up the sort of hype for a potential Mania match.
I think they did, and I think we still can, and it was great.
Yeah, I just think they kind of mishandled it later in the match, which we'll get into, because they definitely mishandled some things with, at least in my opinion, of like the way they wanted to go with these two, because though it would have been cliche, I guess like we can like semi-talk about it right now, neither one was eliminated by the other.
I see what you mean.
And they didn't really interact much later in the match, like they didn't really interact much later, and neither one eliminated the other to like sort of spark a feud between the two,
I don't think you need to. And when they both are in the ring for the Rumble, Jack, I was so excited at the revelation that I don't think they've been in each other's company at all since SummerSlam. Yeah. That's a lot of self-control. They've been on separate brands, and they've been, the brand split, right? We make fun of it a lot, but this is an example of where it's like been done with fidelity.
Yeah.
So I love like it's just teased, and they'll do something later.
Yeah. Another shock, which I'm surprised it happened so early. At number 4, Andrade makes his return to WWE.
Yeah.
Contract came up with AEW, made his way back to WWE. Like I said, very surprised that they used him this early, because there was a somewhat issue with this Rumble that a lot of us watching had, but I'll like discuss it later on. But yeah, I was very surprised to see him come in this early. What I was happy to see was number 5, Carmelo Hayes coming in, because those two started doing some real good work together in the ring. Like I was happy to see like them throw someone in for like Andrade to like work, especially like a faster pace with.
Yes. I wasn't as surprised by his early entrance, and I actually thought that him coming out as early as he did, it just gave him a bigger spotlight, People would come in later to kind of take that spotlight before he was in there for 22 minutes, and for a lot of the early parts of the match, he was the one everyone was watching.
Yeah. See, this is kind of spoiling the sort of issue I was discussing earlier, but it's kind of tough to call out who next, because kind of like going back to the women's match, what Ricky was explaining to some of the guys, if you thought there was filler in that match, it seemed like there was a lot of filler in the first half of this match.
I agree with you 1,000%, Jack. And if I said that I enjoyed the women's match more, there were so many more people who could have won,
Yeah.
and there's so many fewer here.
Yeah, and
Because Santos Escobar is Karrion Kross, is Carlito ever gonna win this match? Austin Theory, when Austin Theory came out, I'm like, okay.
it was funny because the two friends that were watching with us, one of them made the statement of "Where are the stars at?" And a part of me laughed because I was like, they mentioned like they asked one of our friends, they were like, "When's the last time you watched?" And he was like, "When Triple H invaded Randy Orton's house," and I was like, "That was 2009 WrestleMania 25." I was like, "This man hasn't watched like in over 10 years, like that's closing in on 15 years almost in a sense, like
I don't know what's more impressive, Jack. Your recall of that year in WrestleMania or the mat you did so expertly well immediately after.
Yeah, but so I was like, you can take that statement with a grain of salt because it's like, well, of course, a lot of these guys don't seem like stars to him. He doesn't know them. He hasn't been watching, but at the same time, I was like, well, he still somewhat has a point because looking at the first, like, before Cody Rhodes enters in at 15, like you mentioned, is any of these first 14 guys winning the Rumble,
One thing they accomplished with everyone up to Cody, right, is that they are kind of continuing stories that are happening. Yeah. Karrion Kross and Bobby Lashley are getting after each other. AOP come out, they're not even in the match. They're just out to cause trouble.
Yeah.
Santos Escobar and Carlito, and wasn't it funny to see Andrade and Santos Escobar in the same ring together? Like, it's a little less exciting as any of the face-offs in the women's match, but like you got a real sense of I'm you but better.
Yeah, and the only issue I took with a lot of these first half ones, like that I was like what I ended up explaining to my friends is like it's not that a lot of these competitors are bad, it's just their booking in the company, like they aren't like a lot of these guys a lot of these guys are like really good, and have been good at times. They just kind of have up and down booking, where it's like they don't really have a lot to do. And a lot of the stories that they were having, I think another reason why the women's match was better is because it felt like they had more time in the match and they had more time with some of those stories, like you look at the times here for some of the people in the men's rumble and it's like some of them were in for less than 2 minutes almost at times, or less than 5 minutes, where it's like the women's one, it felt like they were given more time to breathe, where it felt like so many of these guys were coming in and then they were out by like the next time you saw them almost,
Yeah,
so that
I agree.
Kind of felt like an issue with a lot of us that we were viewing. But afterwards, you see, like I said, Cody comes in at 15 and you start to see things improve a bit more, Bronson Reed comes in and he eliminates Andrade.
Yes, he does.
That was definitely a shock to a lot of us who were like, whoa, he's the one that throws out Andrade. And I was kind of surprised by Andrade going out like so quickly. But at the same time, I can somewhat understand it in a sense. It would have been cool to see him there a bit longer. But, it definitely sets up a starter feud for him,
Mm-hmm.
Afterwards, we see Kofi come in because of the whole Imperium New Day feud that they've been having. Earlier in the match, Kaiser came in and Kofi eliminates him, and we see when after Kofi, Gunther comes in, which I also called, and Gunther's very much not happy with Kaiser.
Yes, he's let him down for shame.
Yeah. Ivar comes in, and then at number 20 from NXT, Braun Breaker comes in.
Yes, he does. And has a very breakout performance.
Yeah, he had some real great stuff. A lot of his spears looked great. I saw someone make the statement that after years of people kind of making the spear look weak, you have Braun Breaker coming in making it look like a force to be reckoned with. And that's definitely emphasized when Ivar goes to jump off the ropes, like doing that springboard move, and he's caught midair by Braun Breaker with that spear that looks,
that was a good one.
Devastating.
Yeah, that was a good one. I wish I liked, or I wish I, to quote Ricardo, I cared more about Braun Breaker. I'm quoting other people, what other people have said, right?
Yeah,
that's nation for more than Andrade. And I know he looks the part. His moves are impactful. I don't know what I'm missing for him. Before we move too far, right? And here's maybe something I think Braun's missing, right? Here's a little bit of character that I was really appreciated. So AOP, Karrion Kross, Bobby Lashley, and the Street Profits are all brawling, right? They go up the ramp. They're going to beat themselves up all the way to the ring, and by now Ludwig Kaiser's coming out to the ring. And you remember that look that Ludwig gives him? He just sort of sidesteps him, side-eyes him, and just like, oh, how uncivilized, right? But just his face, just I love that. And that's like all his character, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, keep it in character, even in a moment that challenges it a bit. I like that a lot.
Yeah. And then real quickly, another thing I'll mention, because it's not to spoil too much of how I view this Rumble or, dog on this Rumble too much. But this Rumble was very much giving me flashbacks to 2022's Rumble, where
2022.
That was the one that Brock Lesnar won the same
night.
The same night that Ronda Rousey won, and it was giving me flashbacks to that because of, like I said, like the way I didn't really like a lot of the pacing of this one, or like especially in comparison to the women's one. If I've been saying, it didn't feel like there was like the pacing was kind of off. It felt like a lot of people were filler, and similar to the 2022 Men's Rumble. At least with like the first like couple of competitors, I would say I wasn't recognizing any of their theme songs because they've just been going heavy on these generic superstar 19 on WWE 23,
I know exactly what you mean. And my dad thought that I was, a real savant when I was saying names before you could see them. And I said, no, Dad, I'm reading the screen. I just know where to look on the screen, next to the big number, next to the entrance. I know. I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
I think we've reached the part, Jack, where I can have my moment to rant a bit about number 22, Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee, Jack, commentating from the side. His music hits. We don't recognize it, but everyone knows it's Pat McAfee because his name's in places, and he's surprised, and he enters the Rumble, and he faces Braun Breaker and Omos, and he eliminates himself a la Drew Carey 2001. But what was better about Drew Carey is that I like Drew Carey, and he was up against Kane, and he tried to offer him money, and that was great because Kane looked at him like he'd never seen money before. And this was awkward, and it took forever, and I hated it. I hated it. And I'm like, well, I don't know who we would have put in this place, but this was awful. This was awful, Jack. Nothing about the Women's Rumble made me think this is awful.
And I like how on Wikipedia you can see that it says eliminated by himself. Like, it doesn't say his name, it says himself. And he's credited with one elimination for eliminating himself.
The only good part about that was Michael Cole thanking him for not beating his record from that time he was in the Rumble. He claims to be the commentator who has the longest amount of time in the Rumble.
Oh, man. And I will say another funny thing that I'm noticing at this point in time, and maybe it's a testament to how uneven the brand split is, but you look at the list, you see a whole lot of red on this list for Raw. There's a lot of Raw competitors in this,
Yes, sir. Out of 30, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 SmackDown superstars.
Yeah, and 5 non Raw or SmackDown. They're either NXT or unaffiliated, as it says.
The undisputed title and the U.S. Championship match we saw were all SmackDown. Just take that in consideration, right? Kevin Owens, LA Knight, Randy Orton, AJ Styles, they were all busy
Yeah.
and unavailable for the Rumble, even though, to quote Mr. Gonzalez, my social worker at school, Mr. Solis, people could have been in the Rumble who also fought in a match, couldn't they have? Yes. Yes, they could have.
Yeah. Uh, but continuing on with the night, we see the Judgment Day sort of come into fold. Now, the weird thing is, Finn Balor was eliminated by Braun Breaker previously, so it's not like he's there to have the Judgment Day as a whole. But we see JD McDonough show up. We see R-Truth show up, and I, for whatever reason, can't remember how JD McDonough got eliminated in 3 seconds.
I will paint you a portrait, Jack. Braun Breaker is eliminated by Dominic Mysterio. Braun Breaker is wildly upset at this revelation, and on his way out of the ring, he spears a JD McDonough before he enters the ring.
Oh, now I remember.
McDonough is dead. R-Truth picks him up, throws him in the ring, perhaps maybe a bit too early. He hadn't yet quite gathered himself. And Jey Uso is there just in time to knock him out in a record-setting or tying 3 seconds.
Yeah. And then R-Truth, has his moment with The Miz. And also Damian Priest shows up, and you have that moment where, the Miz is trying to beat up on Damian Priest, I think. And, he's, trying to tell him, no, we're good with this guy.
Oh, yes. But you can't forget, Jack, after that abysmal Pat McAfee spot, we go from 0 to 100, Jack. R-Truth, after costing JD McDonough this match he was never going to win, he takes the tag rope in the corner and he holds his hand out for the hot tag. He's insisting Dominic Mysterio tags him into a match he doesn't need to be tagged into, and the crowd is all about it.
Yeah. And then he starts, I forget who he starts fighting that throws him out. Or not throws him out, but he goes to do the John Cena move and then is immediately stopped.
Oh, I too.
But I think the funniest thing was they mentioned on commentary, his childhood hero. And my dad and brother are like, John Cena's his childhood hero? And I'm like, yeah. And John Cena's about 5-6 years younger than him.
It's canon too. There's evidence of him being very explicit about loving John Cena in that manner.
Yeah. But like we said, Damian Priest comes in, and then at number 27, CM Punk comes out.
Sure does. Got that lucky late number. Oh my.
Yeah. And then it was funny because they I think it's when Liv Morgan came out, they mentioned something about because Cody won from number 30, that now took over number 27. Because 27 used to be the number that they were always the most people have won from this number with 4 winners. But the last time someone won from 27 was 20-something years ago. So is it really that lucky,
Yeah.
But
I'm looking at which Royal Rumble number is the luckiest. Because I do remember it being 27.
Yeah, but I believe since Cody won it last year, it either tied or it took over with 5, I think it was.
There have been 4 winners from the 27 spot, a record that is now shared by number 30. Oh, but this says, with the Beast Incarnate's win in 2022. So maybe Cody broke it.
Yeah, that's what I think I remember. But so yeah, Punk comes out, obviously has some spots the immediate spot with Dominic Mysterio playing on their whole Madison Square Garden house show that they had, where they fought. After CM Punk, Ricochet comes out. Another theme that we didn't recognize when it hit.
Not at all.
Yeah, number 29, Drew comes in. And then number 30, everyone waiting. Who's it gonna be?
The Rock, Okada, Will Ospreay.
So many people waiting around. And then Sami Zayn's
MJF.
music hits. Sami Zayn's music hits, and my dad immediately looks at me and goes, okay, that's anticlimactic.
A little bit. You know what's funny too? I had the exact same feeling you did, Jack. But right after I said, Sammy's a good guy. You know, actually too, if he even won this thing, I wouldn't even be mad. You know.
Yeah, like I was like, man, I love Sami. It's a bit anticlimactic, you know, but at the same time, it was like, well, I told Ricky and like my dad, I'm like, well, technically, he was taking time off. He was kind of like injured, taking time off as well with like his family. So it's like a somewhat return. It's not what a lot of people were expecting, but you know, he makes his return here, you know, and then you know, from there we start seeing like the field sort of leveling out, you know, like we see Damian Priest get eliminated, and Damian Priest is very confusing as Mr. Money in the Bank, because it's like, I don't know what it is with WWE and making a lot of their Money in the Bank winners like constantly lose while they hold the briefcase and come off as dumb, but it's just like, Rollins is injured, Roman's in a match with 4 other guys. You don't think to cash in on either of these guys at any point?
Yeah, Jack, I agree. A lot of missed opportunities there. If you and I had the contract, I feel like we would have acted by now.
Yeah, but so Priest goes out, and then
I'm also okay with him waiting until WrestleMania, but he's not at all being explicit about that. Maybe they want to keep it a surprise. Also, they could, like they have for the last 15 years of the thing, not do anything about WrestleMania, you know? But like, yeah, remember Kennedy called his shot? He says he's going to cash it in at WrestleMania, and then he got injured.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's fussing around with R-Truth, making money off of bootleg T-shirts or something or other.
Yeah. And right after Damian Priest, Sami gets eliminated 3 minutes. He only lasts about 3 minutes, 20 seconds in there by Drew. And, you know, I know they were having a bit of a story beforehand, but to us, that kind of made number 30 even a bit more kind of like anticlimactic, because it's like, well, I get it. He's number 30. He's going to obviously not spend as much time in there as other people, but like to go out that quickly was kind of, you know, surprising in a sense a bit, you know. But he does get the elimination on Damian Priest before he gets eliminated, you know.
Yeah.
But so that left us, or well, they were our final 4, I believe. It was Sami, Drew. No. Sorry, I'm confused. It was, the final 4 was Cody, Punk, was it Gunther and Drew, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that left, with Sami getting eliminated, that left us with our final 4 of those 4 men. And that's when they did the classic, you know, all 4 men staring each other down.
You know, yeah, something like that. It's a little hard to follow from the table, but hold on, let me see. Order.
One thing I will mention here while you're getting that up is I saw someone mention something about the women's rumble. Though they didn't do the typical 4, like final 4, they actually did like a final 6 in a way where it was like somewhat symbolic in a way. Because I believe I'm trying to remember. So what I remember is they said Bianca and Liv were the current like rising stars. Jade and Tiffany are the future, and then I think it was Bailey and I'm trying to remember who else. They were supposed to be like the veteran. Oh, I think it was Naomi. They were like the veterans of it all, you know. So like it kind of played off a bit like how 2018 did with like Nakamura,
Balor and Cena,
you know,
and Reigns.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little heavy-handed. I'm glad I didn't like spend too much time on it. There was definitely a point in the men's rumble where I'm looking at the field going, so I literally know Ricochet is the next one out because he's the odd man out.
Yeah. But so getting back to the men's one, we had our final 4. And funny enough, you could look at this final 4, you could look at before Sami got eliminated, like you said. Any of them could have won it and it would have been a surprise.
Really, it's true.
But, you know, this one's a bit more obvious in a way because, I mean, you had all of us thinking, this is CM Punk. So you're like, funny enough, in the back of my head, and I also told my dad, I'm like, because we did our, like, day before, like, you know, calling our predictions, I told him, I have a feeling that when Punk re-signed, in his contract was promised WrestleMania main event. So I was very much like, yeah, Punk's likely winning this one, but that doesn't mean I'm going to stop, rooting for Gunther. I was very much going, Gunther's got to win this. Gunther's got to win this. And then Drew gets eliminated by CM Punk. And so instantly, I tell Ricky, I'm like, look at the way they're staring at each other. That can be a Mania match. That can be a Mania match. Punk can, take a step back from the title scene. He doesn't need the title. He's old. He's gotten injured. He needs to take a step back. Like I was coming off as a real hater. I was like, we don't need old man Punk holding the title right now. He can fight Drew. He can fight Drew on the first match on the card. Like I was being a real hater towards him. And then once Gunther got eliminated, I literally let out a loud no when it happened.
Because here it is. It's the big two. It's CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. It's that amazing promo from Raw. And Jack, I think by now they've brought up that it's so rare to win back-to-back. Hogan's done it. Shawn Michaels has done it. Austin's done it. But Austin hasn't done it since 98, I think.
Yeah.
And so, they bring it up. Are they going to let Cody do it? I don't know, man. Punk's coming, wants what he wants, right?
Yeah. And it's funny how, like, I told my dad and Ricky and my friends afterwards, I was like, it's kind of funny how these Rumbles kind of mirrored last year's, where Jade, Liv, and Bayley were the final three, like Asuka, Liv, and Rhea were. And now this year, you have Cody and Punk as the final two, having a sort of mini match like him and Gunther did last year.
I hear you. Yes,
so
these
they
are
did a very similar thing. And again, knowing what we know now, we know why certain things were. But it was funny watching it happen. And again, I was coming off as a real hater, but I was like, this is moving kind of slow. I was like, this is moving kind of slow. And it's kind of dragging on at some points. Like Punk and Rhodes are being kind of like slow with their moves. And at times it's, on purpose to like build the suspense and anticipation of like, oh, he hit the big move, but he doesn't have the energy to capitalize after hitting the big move. But also at other times it was like, is Punk gassed? Like that was the thoughts I was having. I'm like, is CM Punk gassed? And then I turned right back into my hater mode. I'm like, see, this is why he can't win the Rumble and go on to main event. We needed Gunther. We need Cody to win this.
CM Punk's hair looked hilarious. His hair, like, it's so funny, like, Gunther is, like, super coiffed, you know what I mean? Cody's hair is, short enough that it's not going to do anything. Drew's hair is immaculate. And then CM Punk looks like he's wearing one of those Zack Ryder headbands without the headband. It's just so, like, he looks his age so much so.
Oh, man. Yeah, but so they have that back and forth until finally Cody eliminates Punk, and I started going crazy, basically. I was like, yes, because in the back of my mind, I'm like, we're finally, hopefully, praying and hoping, we finally move on from Roman Reigns.
This is it, Jack. He's pointing him out from the ring. They showed him in the box, the luxury suite, watching with Paul Heyman. And he's calling his shot. I'm coming after you. We finishing the story. They're building the promotion for their game around this.
Yeah, and it was very much funny that, like, you just see the look on Roman's face, and I instantly started saying to all my friends, I'm like, look at him. He knows his time is coming. He knows it's over for him. This isn't like last year. It has to happen.
It has to happen.
Like there's no excuse this time. There's no more. He needs that.
And you know what, too, Jack? I was really, really excited by the fans' reactions, by the the crowd and attendance reaction. Like, you think a lot of them wanted Punk to win because they like Punk. And can you imagine, Jack? I saw somebody mention this. This is Punk's first televised WWE match back. We know he did that stuff in Madison Square Garden, those house shows. But he hasn't been fighting on Raw. This is his first match back, Jack.
Yeah. You know, and I was very surprised by that too, because a part of me was like, man, if they give it to Cody, I feel like this crowd, despite how much they love him, despite how much they want him to fight Roman, I can't help but feel they'll feel a bit like, you know, indifferent to it all, you know, because they wanted Punk. They thought, you know, Cody winning in back-to-back years wouldn't be as great or make as much sense, but I'm glad to see that he's doing well, and all it makes me think of is that one tweet, or it wasn't a tweet, but it I guess Cody Rhodes did like Ask Me Anything, like over on, I think it was like Reddit, and they told him, they asked him, they were like, what are you going to do when the WWE fans eventually boo you? And he goes, well, they've been telling me that for 2 years now, so it hasn't happened yet, so I'm still waiting for it to happen.
I was worried, like in the fall, it was, you know, when he was like tussling with the Judgment Day, and people are like, so we've given up on him, huh? You know, where who are we like eyeing? You know, maybe like LA Knight or The Rock. We start whispering and hear whispers about The Rock, and you're like, ooh, oh no, this should have happened this last April.
Yeah,
but no,
especially the whole Hollywood thing. You know, it's like you wanted something with The Rock. That was the perfect time to do it.
I saw a hopeful, you know, thought put out there in the universe that The Rock isn't going to involve himself until that Netflix deal starts, Jack. And I'm like, yeah, take your time, bruh. You want to talk about somebody who was gassed? He beat up Jinder Mahal and looked like he was about to pass out.
Oh, man.
In between his promo lines, it sounded like, you know, I was hiking. That's what it sounded like, me walking on my 30-minute walk. Should I sit at the bar?
Oh, man. But, yeah, looking towards the road to WrestleMania, they're trying to do the thing of like, oh, is he going to challenge Roman? Is he going to, like, they're trying to make things interesting of like, we don't know who he's going to challenge. He has to challenge Roman. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That has to be your main event match, and Cody has to finish the story.
So you're saying Cody challenges Roman, and you're saying Bayley challenges Io. I wonder, Jack, who challenges Seth, because we can now talk about the night after Royal Rumble. It's revealed our buddy Chick Magnet Punk done tore his tricep again.
Yeah. And literally the moment Ricky sent it to me, I was like, this is exactly why I didn't want him winning the Rumble. Take it from someone who's been watching AEW. This man is not healthy enough to carry that title. Was he doing well this past time he held the world, or the real world title? Yeah, he was remaining pretty healthy, but take it from someone who had to watch a young star in Hangman Adam Page lose his title to Punk just to get injured and not be able to do anything with that belt.
I hope you understand, Jack, that I'm trying to watch my blood pressure, my cholesterol, so I'm going to need you to tone down the salt. You know what I mean? It's bad for my health, this amount of salt you're bringing to the conversation. Jack, I don't know. It's really funny. I talked to my brother who doesn't watch wrestling, but you know what crossed his purview? He says, hey, Phil, have you seen that clip of CM Punk yelling, I'm sick, I'm tired, and I work with children? Really resonated with him. And I was like, yeah, Mike, I've seen it.
Yeah, but it was like, that was my whole thing, because my dad was like, man, you were really coming off like really like a hater of Punk. I'm like, it's not that I hate the guy, you know, I like the guy's work and all that. It's just, at this point in time, I don't want him near any title scene, you know? Like, I look back to his time with AEW, what was his best stuff? Outside of the title scene, working with Eddie Kingston, working with MJF in the dog collar match, with Darby Allin. Look at the sort of stuff he's been, like, coming up with here in WWE. Like, yeah, like yesterday with Drew, you know? It's like, how many times do we see a lot of people in wrestling, a lot of their characters, a lot of their stories, they work better without the title, you know? Like, they come up with a lot of better stuff, you know? Like, you know, rest in peace to him, but how many times were we saying, you know, Bray Wyatt does a lot of great work when it's not involved, when his characters doesn't have to worry about this title that he's having to carry around, you know?
Agreed.
You know, so it's like, that's sort of just my sentiment. It's not that I don't like CM Punk. It's just, I don't think he needs a title, you know? Like, he's at that point in his career where he could do a lot better work without the title because it allows him to focus on more personal story beats, you know?
One thing I was very excited about when he came back, when he did not the initial promo, but the second one, something that I think is in line with his character and what we know to be, you know, CM Punk, like the WrestleMania main event. You know, there's a lot of people after he left that were as salty as you are about the fact that he didn't get it when he should have gotten it, right? So, like, I think he really, like, the story that he needs to end, like the closure that he's going to seek as like a professional and as a man who's dealt with trauma at the workplace, is he needs that main event WrestleMania, which regrettably, Jack, almost always involves the title. Yeah. Have we seen main events operate outside of the title? Yes, but goodness gracious, WrestleMania is a sacred place, right? We're celebrating 40 years, and if it's going to happen, it's got to happen for the big gold belt, whichever one he's going to go for.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, something that I think we take for granted, if he were in the main event scene, he could have lost. He could still lose. He just wants to be at the top of the card. He wants to be the second to last man out, if not the last man to walk that aisle.
Yeah, definitely. You know, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a lot more interesting, you know? Like, but obviously, like you said, you don't see non-title matches main event, especially because a lot of people would kind of get angry about it, you know? Like, think back to WrestleMania 38, where Charlotte and... Was it Becky? No, it wasn't Becky. Who was it? Charlotte and Ronda main evented. And then KO and Stone Cold came out and technically had the last match on the card. And a lot of people were upset about that. Like, you know, oh, they shouldn't have had that segment over, like, the women's to end the night. You know, I could see something similar if Punk were to do something like that. So it's like... And also, I just want people to understand, it's what I personally don't want, but that doesn't speak for the general audience that is, you know, giving WWE the money that they make, you know. I guarantee the general audience likely wants to see CM Punk with a title. It's just me personally, I don't want to, you know.
Here, Jack, before we close, I just have a quick ad read. This is the Call It Anything podcast brought to you by Haterade, Jack's favorite drink, Haterade. It's Pepsi flavored. Get yours today.
Yeah, and also endorsed by CM Punk's number one hater right now, Drew McIntyre.
Oh my.
Drew McIntyre was really hating on that man yesterday on Raw. I couldn't believe that line he dropped where he literally said, "I prayed for this to happen."
That's such a good line. Jack, on Instagram, somebody posted a picture of him at the gravesite giving the peace sign, right? His head on the body, CM Punk's WrestleMania main event on the tombstone. And I look at who posted it. It was Drew himself.
The funniest one I saw was the scene from Spider-Man 3 where Eddie Brock goes to the church to pray on Spider-Man's downfall, and they photoshopped Drew's face on him, and they were like, this was literally Drew after CM Punk eliminated him in the Rumble.
I love it.
But with that being said, we got about 1 minute and 50 left on this episode. Sir, any final thoughts?
We on the road to WrestleMania. We're going to make a pit stop in Australia, and I'm excited to see you there, Jack.
Yeah, got a pit stop that we likely won't be awake for, because as I told my dad, because I saw apparently here on Pacific time, it starts at like 2 in the morning. I said, I don't stay up for that unless it's a Stardom event. But yeah, we got Elimination Chamber coming up in Australia. And I think they advertised another Saudi event, but I don't know if that's before or after Mania.
Ooh, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. But until then, I've been Jack, joined by my guest,
Mr. Solis.
Thank you all once again for joining us for these 2 episodes. And as always, we'll catch you on the next one.